The CBI is facing further flack this week over the decision of its Scottish arm to register as a backer of the pro-union Better Together campaign. The announcement sparked a wave of resignations, with several members announcing they'd be leaving the organisation, claiming the CBI's position didn't reflect the views of all its members. Tony Banks of the Balhousie group was among the first to tear up his membership card. Speaking to BBC Scotland, he said the CBI's decision has compromised the neutrality of businesses.
I think the situation with the CBI is that they've put most businesses in an untenable position. Most businesses in the independence debate have remained neutral. My business is neutral. And by the CBI declaring for the No campaign, what they've done is put us all in an untenable position. To maintain our neutrality, we really have to resign from the organisation. It's clearly behind the No campaign. And what is clearly worrying is the fact that they can enter the regulated part of the referendum campaign and spend up to £150,000 in that period from the end of May until September. And I'm unwilling to fund that, and my business is unwilling to fund that. The fact that they've actually came out and registered now means that they've firmly become a political organisation and put their flag in the ground behind the No campaign. And that was the final straw. But the other thing that has upset a number of members, not just myself, because I've spoken to a number over the weekend, is the fact that they have not went through a democratic process and discussed this with the membership. And they believe that they have a mandate through the council in CBI Scotland. But again, I've spoken to one or two council members who have said that they cannot remember this being discussed, voted upon. And I would actually challenge the CBI to produce minutes and evidence of the fact that they've went through a democratic process to come to this decision. What's now happening is that businesses are now taking their time and will reflect over this over the next few days. And when business is back to normal on Tuesday, I'm sure we're going to see a number of other resignations from the CBI in Scotland.
Well, Tony Banks, who also chairs the pro-independence body Business for Scotland. We did request an interview with CBI Scotland, but no one was available. We also requested an interview with the Director General of the CBI, John Cridland. He didn't have time to speak to us, but earlier this morning he told the BBC why they'd taken the decision to register with the Electoral Commission.
Because the members of the CBI want the CBI to have a view, and that view is that it's a matter for the Scottish voter. We're not trying to campaign to influence the Scottish voter. We are a non-party political organisation, and we're not associated with anybody else's activities. We're entirely independent. I'm just saying that the business community has a point of view on the economic and business implications of Scottish independence. That's all CBI is saying. We're not seeking to influence how people vote. This is a really key point. We took a decision that we needed to comply with the Electoral Commission's regulations. Clearly, like any other organisation, we're an independent organisation, but like any other organisation, we have to operate within the law. And the decision we took is that simply to do our normal activities, and I stress, our normal activities on behalf of our members, including events and public statements between now and the referendum, we were advised we needed to comply with the Electoral Commission's rules because we have a position on the issues. I regret any CBI member leaving the CBI. That's a source of considerable regret to me as Chief Executive of the organisation. But I respect the fact that there are a variety of views on this issue. This is an unusual issue for all of us. We don't have referendums very often. And I respect the fact that not everybody has the same point of view.
Well, joining us now is our political editor, Brian Taylor. Morning, Brian.
Good morning indeed.
We had John Cridland there saying that the CBI had to do this to comply with the law. What are the rules on an organisation registering in the campaign?
I think Mr Cridland is interpreting them very, very, very broadly indeed. He's talking, for example, about events. That's, a CBI dinner. I'm not sure that all the expenditure on that would come within the rules of the referendum unless they turned that entire dinner into a campaigning event for the no side, turned it into a rally for Better Together. I think as long as they were continuing their normal business and perhaps a section of it was devoted to the referendum issue, then it would be that section that would count. The rules are these. If you the starting point is they will designate, the Electoral Commission will designate two lead groups. They will be Yes Scotland and Better Together. They're able to spend up to £1.5 million each. Then it's up to the individual parties, and they have been given a spending limit based upon their voting share at Holyrood. It was all very deftly designed by the Electoral Commission to get balance on the two sides. So the SNP are allowed more than the others, and it comes down to balance. Then, so far so clear. Then you have other campaigners, and despite what John Cridland says, they are defined as campaigners, not as neutral observers. In the law, which I have in front of me here, if you don't register with us, it says, which is the Electoral Commission, you can spend up to £10,000. So the starting point is 10 grand. After that, once you are a registered other campaigner, not a political party, not the lead campaigner, then the limit is 150,000. Mr. Cridland's interpretation is that because the CBI take a stance for no and would be spending, just in general terms, on events between May 30, which is the beginning of the designated period, and the referendum September 18, up to £150,000, they require to register. I'm not certain that's the case, but it's the view that he takes, and presumably the political, the legal advice has been given.
So do you think him saying that they're not seeking to influence anybody, is that naive then?
Yeah, I think it is, frankly. The definition of those who are obliged to register is, and I have it in front of me, referendum campaigners. It says there are spending limits. There are limits on how much you may spend on campaigning during the referendum period. It's not on asking questions. It's not on neutral observation. It's about campaigning. Now, as I stress, Mr. Cridland said there himself that he has taken, his organisation have taken legal advice, and they believe they are required to register, and I'm sure that all sides would welcome the fact that they are declaring their stance, if you like, and registering as a consequence.
So we've had a number of resignations, Brian. We've had Aquamarine Power, we've got Visit Scotland, Scottish Enterprise. Tony Banks from the Balhousie Group, also a resignation. He's predicting more will follow. Do you think that's going to happen this week?
I don't know. I mean, the resignations we've had have been some government quangos, individual members, you say, like Balhousie Group. The STV have stood down for different reasons. Not because they're taking a stance, but because they're avowedly not taking a stance and take a neutral position. So you have those who are, if you like, declaring their neutrality, those who are unhappy, like Tony Banks, with the way the decision has taken, or the fact of a decision being taken. There may or may not be others.
Yeah, we've had individual companies in the past, giving us their opinion. Brian, how important is this? Obviously, it's important for the CBI because they could get into difficulties with some of their members. But how important is it in the whole debate, do you think?
I think the business perspective is extremely important. It's more really down to individual large companies. If you hear from individual large finance companies or large oil companies, then they are influential one way or another. They are influential perhaps in stressing concerns and anxieties about the economic perspective. There could be, the other side is suggesting, the Yes Scotland side is suggesting, that it could seem as if they are seeking to intimidate the Scottish people, and perhaps the Scots would take a thrawn response to that. In terms of the business perspective, it's long struck me that several individual business people can be quite naive about politics generally, or perhaps they're just too busy to take a detailed interest. And so the business organisations are very important in that regard. But there isn't just the CBI. There's the CBI, there's the Chambers of Commerce, there's the Federation of Small Business, Institute of Directors, there's sectoral concerns for various parts of industry, and they all take a perspective. They have different roles within the organisations that they represent. But equally, perhaps they're in something of a competition for members and for influence. And there's been muttering. Let's put it this way: been muttering for quite a long time about whether the CBI is genuinely in touch with Scottish opinion.